Welcome to the Monday, March 17th Board of Selectmen meeting. Would you please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First item on the agenda is unanticipated. Do my board members have anything under unanticipated?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
There's been a discussion among some people regarding a possible traffic light at the school in Hannaford at Route 28.
Right.
And I was wondering if we could ask Charlie to ask the chief of police for some numbers on accidents and things like that that are happening there, and also maybe ask Mr. Peck from the DPW to weigh in on that.
Okay.
Maybe get a report or a follow-up from those two.
Jackie, would you send a message to Charlie to look at that and have Serped look at that also too, please? They would be instrumental in assisting us with traffic counts, et cetera, the numbers we need for proving that it's dangerous enough. Okay.
Thank you. That's it for me.
Mr. Knowlton? Okay. Mr. Quill?
I'm fine, thank you.
Elena?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to show you the first draft of our festivals and events brochure that's going to be coming out soon that the Tourism Committee has been working on. It's 24 colored pages, self-explanatory, that one. Keep going. This is taken from the town website with the description of the town hall, actually how Middleborough was founded. I'm not going to go into reading it all. We have sponsors like KOA there, the town hall, more sponsors, the library, and there's a nice write-up about it from the library there as well. Oliver Mill Park, the Green School. This is the center pages of the brochure, which has a calendar from this April until the end of the year with all the events and festivals that are going on in Middleborough. So and how to get in touch with someone. It's a website right beside it. Some of our conservation areas you can see up there. We have Weston Forest, we have Pratt Farm, we have Pond Complex up there. Some of our local farms. That's South Middleborough Home on the Grange in South Middleborough. They submitted this as well. And the East Middleborough 4-H. The cemeteries in Middleborough, the Friends of the Middleborough Cemeteries, Inc., with their tour. They submitted this and put it in. Some of our restaurant hotspots. And all of the people that were responsible for putting this together. And that's it. Just wanted to show you the first draft here.
Are these the finished colors that it's going to come out in?
Yeah, they're all going to be, it's full color. All the pages are. I also wanted to have the opportunity to thank Nikki Shumway, who did all the setup and photography for us, and Sherry Hartland-Neely, who wrote and edited and compiled information and gathered, and Sherry Swindle, who is arranging the shipping for us, and many other people. I know Ann Kavanaugh was editing. So if I missed saying somebody, it's just because I had 2 hours sleep helping put things together last night.
So this is printed up now?
No, not yet.
Has it all been thoroughly proofread?
Yes, oh gosh, yes. About 10 times.
Beyond just you?
Yes.
You're going to have different sets of eyes.
Oh, no, absolutely. There are probably 10 different people. I know.
Okay.
You can look at the same thing 3 times and not see it, absolutely. Yep.
Right.
Oh, and here's another one of our contributors and proofreaders. So I just thought I'd bring it in so you could get the first peek. It's very exciting.
Very good.
Yep.
Any comments or questions from the board? Yes?
I think it looks fantastic, but you did forget to mention one person. I'd like to say thanks, Mr. Montipur.
Oh, I did it again. Yes, he has worked his behind off, too. Don't stand up, we won't see it. So, yeah, it's been a real effort of love and commitment, and thank you to everyone. If I missed saying you again and you're watching, thank you, thank you. I know that you've been out there working. No?
Any other comments or questions from the board?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
how many of these are you hoping to print up?
We're starting with the 10,000 for the first printing.
Okay, and where are you going to, do you have a distribution?
We
where you
do.
think?
5,000 will be distributed through local media. The Freebird Times is targeting areas that are drivable to here so they can come and see the attractions. And then with the Plymouth County Development Council, we're having them at the kiosks at all the major highway tourist visitor centers. And then at all the festivals, because it is a festivals and events. So every event and festival will get them, and I know the hotels in town have committed to putting them out. So we have a pretty good coverage of the whole southeastern Massachusetts.
Great. Well, it looks really good.
Well, anything? Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank
to
you,
your
Mr.
team.
Montipur.
He still goes home with you anyway, so it
I
doesn't
know,
make any
I know.
difference. Anything else under unanticipated from the audience?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. My name is Brian Giovannoni from the School Committee, and I just wanted to give you guys a copy of the NEASC, which is New England Association of Schools and Colleges, who did a review of the high school. The pretty much the cover letter, which is covers pretty much the basics of what they recommendations had made. I just wanted to get you guys a copy of it because a few weeks ago you had voted to endorse a letter to the School Building Authority, and part of that is covered. The why you did that is somewhat covered in here too. So I wanted to get that to you guys. At my last meeting, I asked if we could do that, and they said sure. So I wanted to give that to you and give it to the press or anyone else. Thank you.
Make sure Jackie gets a copy, please. Can you also send Jackie an electronic copy of that?
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Brian.
Is there anything, Brian, before you depart, is there anything in here that we should focus in on?
At the bottom of page 2 talks about the building structure itself in the lower paragraph there, and it carries over to page 3. That's specific to what you had voted on, but it does talk about other items that need to be addressed, and then a follow-up report that will be created by the school committee and the school building committee to readdress some of the items. They have to do a 1-year, a 2-year, a 5-year, and then a 7-year update, because this is a 10-year process. But this is the pretty much summary of a 100-page document, which covers the basics, which is covers everything. If there are any questions, please feel free to contact myself or Dr. Weiss. Should be happy to talk to you, or even Mr. Brannigan. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Barbara? Barbara, you say I'm sorry for your loss.
My name is Barbara Holton. I live at 68 Purchase Street. On February 18th, 2014, Ralph Holton passed away. Although Ralph and I chose to close the campground and move on, the consensus of the administration was, like always, not going to let that happen. It has become apparent to me that the boards and the administration have the ability to negotiate in ways to acquire what they want, for what they want, with whom they want. This practice only adds to the inequality that has been practiced on us. The campground was tentatively sold after it was closed, and now it is not. I believe the administration's ability to control and only compromise with whom they choose has again scared away progress for yet another resident. The builder we chose received no positive assistance from departments in town, and his conversations with other builders and engineers confirmed the resistance that I knew was here. I believe the reputation the administration in this town has established has lowered any resident's ability to bring in an outside firm or even an inside firm to improve or build in this town. I am not the first person to bring this to the board's attention. Last year, an outside realtor brought up his frustrations of selling in Middleborough, having qualified buyers, and when they found out it was in Middleborough, they were not interested. This is not how your town should be known. The stress of the closure of the sale that couldn't be negotiated, I believe, led to Ralph's heart attack, as stress is a major cause. There were many ways the administration of this town could have negotiated many things from a campground perspective and a sale perspective, but chose to punish instead of compromise. There is nothing that is going to bring Ralph back. There is something the town still can do so my family can move on, and for once in the Holton case, could you finally let it go? Because there really was never anything there that should have allowed us to be treated the way we were. Rest in peace, Ralph Holton, knowing you did do for this town everything they claim they are looking for. You brought tourists, you brought business, you even brought new residents. But that wasn't enough because you did it and the administration wasn't receiving the credit. I will love and miss you forever, and for you, I will keep moving on. The property is not sold. The builder is not going to build the 40B because he is not getting any cooperation from the planning board or anybody else in this town. So the property is back on the market. I plan to sell the property by July 1st to whoever is the highest bidder on the property. I will not spend another winter in this town.
Well, thank you, Barbara. I'm sorry you feel that way, but we did not take any votes that would counter your sale of your property. So, thank you.
I know it's not your fault. Nothing ever is.
Anything else under unanticipated? Under announcements? We have an announcement? Well, yes.
Jane Lopes for the Rotary Club. Just a quick announcement that the Rotary auction is coming up on March 29th and 30th, the weekend after this weekend. And we'll be live on TV from 4 to 7 on Saturday and 1 to 5 on Sunday with a lot of great stuff to sell. And it's all for scholarships for local kids and other good deeds that Rotary does. So I hope that everyone will tune in and bid on some items. And if any of you are have some free time and haven't been already signed up to volunteer, we would welcome your presence at the auction.
That would be 4 to 7 on the
On Saturday, the
Saturday the
29th,
29th?
and 1 to 5 on
1 to
Sunday,
5
the
on Sunday.
30th.
Okay.
Yep, at the high school.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We have in the Middleborough Town Hall on March 22nd at 7 p.m. and at March 23rd at 2 p.m. Sally Cotter and the Censored Stone, a parody by Dean O'Carroll, will be performed by the 4-H drama crew of East Middleborough. Do any of my selectmen have any announcements? No? Any announcements besides the Rotary? You all have to pay attention to the Rotary. It's an important function, and Jane needs the support. Okay. Minutes. Entertain a motion to approve the minutes for the 3:10 regular meeting.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other comments or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. I'd entertain a vote to authorize the chairman or his designee to sign the warrants for week ending 3/14/2014.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other comments or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. Oops, getting ahead of myself here. New business. Vote to declare the 1989 Chevy Cavalier is surplus as requested by the building commissioner. I'm not certain why he couldn't get some more mileage and years out of that, but
Mr. Chair,
yes.
motion to declare the 1989 Chevy Cavalier as surplus.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Okay, any other comments or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. I entertain a motion relative to a vote for a one-day all-alcohol beverage liquor license for Mucky's Liquor for, I should probably read this. March 27th, from 5 p.m. to 10 p.m., Oak Point Veterans Fundraiser for St. Vincent de Paul. This will be at the Oak Point Veterans, the hall. This is a full liquor license.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any other comments or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. Entertain a motion relative to a liquor license for Bill Seconder, Mucky's Liquor, for April 12th, 2014, from 5 p.m. to 11 p.m. for the Lions Club. This will also be at Oak Point Drive. Full liquor license.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any other comments or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. We're going to discuss and vote on the annual town election warrant for the annual town elections for April 5th, 2014. Good evening.
Good evening. Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Happy St. Patrick's Day.
So do you have the annual town election warrant before you?
I have the warrant before me for 2 selectmen for 3-year terms, 1 gas and electric commissioner for 3 years, 2 school committee members for 3 years, 1 assessor for 3 years, 2 finance committee members for 3 years, 1 planning board member for 5 years, 2 park commissioners for 3 years, and 1 housing authority member for 5 years.
Yes.
These are uncontested races, or races, if you would.
Yes. So they are uncontested races, and I do want to note that we only have 1 person on the ballot for Finance Committee, and we do have 2 Finance Committee member positions available. So I would like to encourage anyone who has an interest in serving on the Finance Committee to attend some of their upcoming meetings. And anyone who would be interested in running a sticker campaign as a write-in could contact the town clerk's office, and you can contact us through the clerk web at Middleborough with the OUGH.com email address, or feel free to contact our office by phone, and anyone would be able to provide them with sticker campaign information.
The question has been proposed to me where this is an uncontested election, we normally have our elections from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m.
That is correct.
But if it's an uncontested election, can we cut the hours back?
You
Maybe
have the
save some money?
You have the authority as the Board of Selectmen to designate those hours. It is not, the hours are not stated in the town charter. The date is stated in the town charter, but the hours are not stated. So you would have the authority to change those hours. But keep in mind, we are looking for a write-in candidate, and although uncontested, someone could win as a write-in in other categories. And so I just want to note that, but you do have the authority.
Do you have any idea what kind of savings we would entertain if we went to, say, a 7 or 8 hour day?
I actually put that together for the next item on the agenda tonight, which was for the special municipal election. And I can only provide you with an estimate, but if we were to go from a 12-hour election day to a 7-hour election day, we would mainly be cutting the cost of pay for election officers, police officer details, and custodial. And I estimate that to be approximately $3,000 cost savings to the town.
Okay. Board members wish to discuss that at all? Board members don't want to walk near that minefield?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I'll willingly go into that. I understand the idea of maybe saving a few bucks here and there, but I'm also really hesitant to restrict hours. People work different hours in their jobs, and I certainly don't want to take anyone's ability to vote and be able to cast a vote, even in an uncontested election, especially if there's a possibility of a sticker campaign.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I feel about it.
Okay. Any other? Yes.
I gotta go with Mr. Knowlton on this one.
Ooh,
Oh, my
knock
goodness.
that down.
When he's right, he's right. But, I mean, there's a lot of people who do work Saturdays,
Okay.
this day and age. And if you're working 7 to 4, 7 to 5 on a Saturday, that's bad enough. But then to do that and miss your chance to vote. I mean, I'm running, full disclosure, uncontested, but I'm still running, and I think it's important. I mean, people die for the right to vote all across the world. I don't think we should minimize that. Not to discount a savings of $3,000, but the right to vote, $3,000, I'm going with the right to vote,
Okay.
or the ability to exercise that right.
I agree.
Okay, well, that was just a, we like to
It's a good discussion.
touch all pieces. So, relative to the town warrant, which is stated for the April 5th election from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. with the stated positions, what's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I move that we have the polling hours for the 12 hours from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. on Saturday, the 5th
Okay.
of April.
We have a motion, and we have a second. Any other comments or questions?
Should I actually recuse myself from this?
Why not?
I recuse
Good
myself.
idea. Go stand out in the hall.
He's been waiting to say that.
I have for a long time. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any other comments or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. One
Say gentlemen.
gentleman elected not to vote, recused himself or whatever. Okay. The next item on the agenda is the polling hours for the special election. This is for, would be relative to the question of a ballot question for a debt exclusion for the police station, should this come to pass. And we are the ones that can, we are unfortunately, the only ones that can put that on the ballot is the Board of Selectmen. So, what would be the pleasure of the board? Oh,
If I may
let's
give you some
discuss that.
information.
I'm
You had
getting ahead
asked
of
me just to
myself here.
research, the hours. So we've already discussed and established that the board would be the ones to establish the hours. But I wanted to also let you know that the Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 54, Section 64, states that the selectmen in any town may provide that the hours during which the polls shall be open for the purpose of voting on a question to be submitted to the voters of said town shall be the same as the hours designated by said selectmen for the election of town officers. After an announcement has been made by the presiding officer of a time so fixed for closing the polls, they shall not be closed at an earlier hour. I consulted with our town council on this matter. He stated the Board of Selectmen have the authority to determine the hours for a special municipal election based on the language set forth in Chapter 54, Section 64, and there is no language regarding the special municipal elections within our town charter. I also contacted the State Elections Division, and I was advised it would be in the town's best interest to keep the hours for the special municipal election the same as the hours for our annual town election, which are 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., based on the subject matter of the special municipal election, where the outcome will determine whether or not the taxes in this town will be raised to fund the project. Based on the information I received, it is my opinion that we keep the hours the same as our annual town election, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., in order to provide our voters with adequate time to cast their vote at the polls on the police station expansion project. And I also would like to note as well, as Alan brought up, there are several people that have voiced concerns. They work on Saturdays. Some people may work until 5 or 6 o'clock, and they would like to have an opportunity to vote on something of this magnitude.
Okay.
But as discussed, we talked about the cost savings, which would be approximately $3,000 based on the cost of election officers, police officer details, and custodial.
Okay. And in full disclosure, I had approached Allison with the thoughts of cutting back the hours of this election to save some money, but then I thought about that even more and decided that it is much more important that everybody has their opportunity to vote. So I am for the 12-hour day, and even though there'll be a lot of knitting and reading done that day, it is better that the people have their opportunity to express their opinion on this project by voting on it. But, be that as it may, board members, questions or comments?
Mr. Chair, I agree completely with your reasoning.
Oh,
This is, again, a very important decision. The taxpayers need to have enough time to be able to get out there and vote.
Absolutely.
Second.
We haven't voted yet. But don't get ahead of me. Fragile state tonight. Any other comments or questions?
What can what can be expected, because there's going to be a ballot for candidates, and then is there separate for the special? I mean, I just wanted
It's a
the voters
It's
to
a separate
understand.
election, because we're having
Separate election.
Right, we could.
But I mean, what's it going to look like when they
It's
go?
going to be same as you see as an annual town election ballot, but with a question.
That'll be just with a question.
There'll be a question on it as opposed to, and the language will have to be exact, which is something you're going to vote on prior to. And we've discussed the time frame in which I need that in order to get elections prepared, but the ballot prepared. So it will be in the form of a question with the exact language that you vote on prior to, which has to be at least 35 days prior to the election. I would appreciate as much time as possible.
Probably about the beginning of May, we'll have to vote on that.
Right, and so whatever the exact language is, that will be the exact language that'll appear on the ballot. And I have provided the town manager as well as the selectmen with the proper language that you have to follow depending upon what type of vote this is. Whether it's debt exclusion, there's different variations, and I spoke to town council about that as well.
Okay.
So you have to make certain that you include the proper language exact.
What would be the earliest that would be available for review, the language?
I already have provided, it's Proposition 2.5 override
Right.
information, and I have provided sample language to the town manager and to the chairman.
Oh, okay.
So they have that, and then I know they're working on that with town council, and it's also, he's already reviewing it in the form of the town meeting warrant article.
Right.
So I believe that's probably going to be, whether or not exact, but similar in nature as to what you're going to
Right.
vote on, appear on the ballot.
Right.
Okay.
Okay?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Two quick, well, 2 points, I guess. All of this is predicated on a positive vote at town meeting first, correct?
You can, yes, you get the,
If there's a vote in the negative.
there's a vote in the
We
negative.
don't
It
need
can-
the special election day.
You'd have to consult with Dan on that because it really depends on what exactly you're choosing. So it hasn't been disclosed to me what type of vote this is. A debt exclusion vote, a Proposition 2.5 override. I haven't received the information that's posted to the town meeting warrant article. He has it in draft form right now. So in order for me to fully answer that question, I need to see what it is that you're proposing, which I have not seen yet.
To the best of my knowledge, this will be a debt exclusion vote that will be predicated on a positive outcome at town meeting.
When I did consult with Dan, he said there was it
It's-
started out that way, but it has some other.
But that's what I'm saying, to the best of my knowledge.
Right, he said 21C, which falls under a different category slightly, but, so I'm not
We're
really
still
sure.
waiting on the full info from the police station building committee.
Okay, that could be part of it as well.
That really is, one of the determining factors is the costs. We have to
Right.
make sure that the costs are
Right.
what we anticipated. Not,
Yeah, we want
Not
to
aside.
define costs going to the vote in the ballot.
that it?
It is for me.
Okay. Pleasure of the board.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any other comments or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have a request was made to support, or send a letter of support thank you.
Want to take this
We
one?
can put that off until next week if we have to. No, that's all right. Letter of support for the state, again, wants to close up the Taunton State Hospital. The state hospital has
45 days.
45 beds over there.
Yep.
Take care of a lot of people with a lot of needs. We have a lot of needs for mental health issues. And one of their main ideas is that, one of the state's main ideas is that everything could be put in Worcester, where they have some beds available. Those are State Hospital in Worcester. And they're going to rely on High Point, if that comes in, to Middleborough, to cover a lot of their needs. Taunton State Hospital's been there for, I don't know how many years, very long time. And there's a lot of jobs, and it impacts our southeastern Mass economy to have that there. And while I applaud the efforts of the state to try to control their budget, it seems like that's not the budget that needs to be controlled as much as other budgets that need to be controlled. So we have a letter from the Rainham Board of Selectmen as a sample. Board members, would you like to discuss this?
Mr. Chair?
Mr. Frawley.
I asked for this to be brought up tonight, and I think it's extremely important, especially with the mental health crisis that we're going through these days. One of the things that they don't really tell you too much is that they're not actually going to close Taunton State Hospital. They're going to keep it open. They're just not going to have any more continuing care beds there. So it's going to stay open, and it's going to remain heated, and they just won't have the beds. They'll continue to incur the operating costs associated with the buildings, but they won't have the beds available for the people in the community. I have a letter here from Ellen Foley, who's actually a Middleborough resident, and she's also part of the Mass Nurses Association, and she works at Taunton State Hospital. And she's worked there for probably longer than she wants me to admit on TV. But she says I can pass this letter out to you guys after. But I just want to read one paragraph from what she said. She cannot stress enough about the importance of family and community supports in the treatment of mental illness. Though family may take many forms for different individuals, their support is crucial. Additionally, family members can provide valuable information that may aid in the treatment plan and recovery process. This is especially true during times of inpatient treatment. The National Alliance on Mental Illness recognized this in a 2013 article entitled "The Family Role in Recovery: Understanding the Illness and Embracing the Process." The article states, "The hospital stay is a critical time for families to get involved and to provide information to the treatment teams, such as history of behaviors and what types of responses that they may have to certain medications. It's difficult to continually follow up and ask questions, or to take the time out of a workday to come and meet with treatment teams, but it's a vital part of the recovery process, and learning how to effectively advocate for a loved one will go a long way." It's certainly something she has observed in her years at Taunton State Hospital, and family can recognize these symptoms that are associated when a family member is beginning to decompensate. And it's always heartwarming to see the elevated response when the family comes to visit. And that whole aspect of care for our mentally ill people will evaporate if this hospital leaves. This isn't just for Taunton, it's not for Middleborough, it's for southeastern Massachusetts. If you live on the Cape and you have to visit someone in your family who's having a hard time, you have to drive to Worcester. As a monetary matter, if someone in Bristol, at the Bristol County Sheriff's Department, in their care, or the Plymouth County Sheriff's Department, or the Barnstable County Sheriff's Department, has a mental illness and has to be shipped to a mental health facility, the sheriffs have to take 2 guys, throw them in a car with the patient, and drive them all the way to Worcester and back. Because all 3 of those sheriffs, the heads of those sheriff's departments, are against this closure. Not only is it, in my opinion, not only is it a bad idea for the mental health facilities in our area, but I think it's a bad idea financially for our area as well. And why is Southeastern Mass getting the short end of this stick? I just don't get that. So I would appreciate if we could all vote in a positive manner to send a letter of support to our legislators and to the government, saying we support keeping Taunton State Hospital open.
All right. Any other board members have anything to add to that or subtract from that?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I'm reading the redevelopment plan draft for Taunton, and I got to say there are some good things here. By closing that campus, they're going to be saving $6 million that they're then going to be able to put into mental health services. That's a lot of benefit that goes back into our state. By moving patients to Worcester, according to this report, it looks like their treatment time is greatly reduced, which really mitigates a lot of the travel concerns that Mr. Frawley brought up. And it says on average, their treatment is a year and 4 months faster. And if you don't have to travel over the course of that time, that seems to be a big benefit. There'd also be a reuse and redevelopment of the existing site. I don't know if this is something that needs to be given a letter for at this point.
Okay. Is that it?
Mr. Chair,
Yep.
I would agree southeastern Massachusetts and the Cape is a large area, and this facility in Taunton is the only state facility of its kind in this area. You had mentioned High Point. That's not a state facility. Sometimes this is the last option or only option for many patients that are attempting a very difficult situation. I would like to see it remain open and not add the burden of travel on top of having such a sensitive issue and having to be hospitalized. I would question, too, if they're saying that if they go to the Worcester facility, that these patients will be finished with their treatment faster. Nobody can say that. Maybe they're going to be pushing them through there faster than they should be. As Mr. Frawley said also, we are a large portion of the state where we have a high population. We need a facility like this here. I think it's crazy to be sending us to Worcester or further west. I support it.
Good play on words.
Crazy.
Yeah. Anybody? Mr. Quill, do you have anything?
Do we have any feedback from Taunton City Council?
I'm sorry, what?
Taunton City Council, I mean, or anything, any of the other surrounding communities? Like I said, I'm looking at Rainham here. I just didn't know if anybody else was weighing in
I don't
on
know
this.
if Taunton Council is, they're probably for it, for keeping it open, I think.
Like I said, I just wondered if there was
But
anything
I-
else we had other than Rainham. I know we're sort of
I
using
think
them as a
the only
template.
letter we have presently is Rainham, but that doesn't necessarily mean
Yeah.
that is the only letter out there. Taunton might be working this from a different angle, too.
Is there anything more specific about where High Point fits into this, or have they come forward for the town?
It's
I
a
don't think
private-
Taunton, I don't think High Point should be a part of this discussion.
No, no,
Because
no,
That is a
no.
private
He
facility.
made it, the governor made it part of the discussion.
Yeah, I just didn't
including it
know.
in in that,
I
that
think,
plan.
well, I don't agree with that. I don't agree with a lot of things he said, right, as far as this goes. But,
Right, yeah, I just, like, when I say it, I just didn't know if you'd entered into a contract with
Because you
them or
need
anything
insurance
like
to
that.
get into High Point.
Exactly.
And a lot of mentally ill people don't have insurance because they're mentally ill. It's gone too long. They've lost their jobs, they lost their homes, they've lost their families. This is their last
The only
chance.
option.
I mean, we're boarding people with mental illness in emergency rooms. That doesn't do anybody any good. We have over 100 overdoses in this so far this year. Those are mentally ill people. You can call them whatever you want, but what it comes down to is they need psychiatric help. I need psychiatric help. But this is, I can't believe we should be having a discussion about adding beds to this facility, not taking them away.
Any other comments, Mr. Quill?
No, like I said, I just didn't know if there was, like, say, as you said, it was more the governor who had interjected that. I didn't know exactly if that had been official, like if they had signed a contract or anything.
Yes?
Mr. Chairman, my name is Brian Giovannoni, and one of the things that I got when I was reading through the same documentation is the savings of $6 million that, you know, you can't say at what price do you put on it, you know, $133,000 a person. But when you start looking at the state trying to save money for other things, as I sit and look at the budget on the school committee, I look at a current hole of $600,000 in special ed that the state's not going to fund us, that we have to come up with. When I look at letters of support, that's the letter of support that I'd really love to see, is that the state funds special ed at 100%, not at the pitiful numbers that they support. And that's for all children. And I look at the children of Middleborough and say, we're trying to provide those resources. And we have this hole this year at $600,000. I don't know if Charlie's mentioned it to you, but we have a special education hole of $600,000 in our school budget. And when I see the state trying to save $6 million, it's about time they start looking at trying to consolidate and save money so they can reallocate those funds so we can provide the same services, yet with this $6 million that they're going to save here, they're going to provide additional services in that same realm. But when I sit back and say, hey, we're going to send a letter of support to not save money, yet I need a letter of support trying to get that special ed budget up statewide, but specific to Middleborough, $600,000. It's a travesty. We talk about unfunded mandates. That's the biggest one we run into as school. But I just mentioned that because as you're talking about this, letters of support, just would rather see us support. We keep sending letters of support. This is a big one.
Did
but
you
just
read
something
item
specific.
G?
What's that?
Item G on the agenda?
Well, this was.
That's what this pertains, that pertains to the local aid.
Oh, there's another one
Yeah.
down the bottom?
Yeah,
No,
so
this
we're-
happened to be with this. I
we're
was
just a
thinking
little-
about if we
you're a-
could save $6 million here and reallocate things. it'd be
We're
great.
going to send more letters. Jackie's going to hate us at the end of the night. She's
Thanks.
got a lot of
I
letters to
appreciate
go
that.
out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, if I
Yes.
could just address that very quickly. $6 million saved, I agree. Great. How much do you think it's going to cost us if we're treating these patients in an emergency room and they're being housed there?
Or if we have to drive them from Barnstable to Worcester. That's 2 guys a day, or Plymouth, or Bristol.
On an emergency
How much does
services?
an
one
undiagnosed
at a
mental
time,
illness
one at a
cost
time.
the police station
Calm
every
down.
year?
One at a time, folks. I know
I
you're
thought he was
passionate
finished.
about this, but they can't understand when all of us talk at once. Any other comments or questions?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
in a state where the state does not always make the best decisions and cost-saving decisions for the budget, this seems to be a decision that moves in the right direction.
Okay. Any other comments or questions?
You know, I'm just not an expert in these matters, to be honest with you. You know, $6 million, sure, it's a lot of money to me. I'm not going to say that the state's wrong or right, because honestly, I don't know who's right or wrong here. I'm not an expert in the providing them of mental health care to these patients. You know, I'm going to at least give benefit of the doubt that it's been given a lot of thought by both sides. But to just, you know, go ahead and put my signature on it, you know, for support in one way or another, it'd be kind of blind on my part, to be honest with you. But, you know, I understand both sides of this, but I wouldn't want to just kind of blindly vote for this, not really knowing the pluses and the minuses without more information. That's why, you know, that's kind of why I asked a question about exactly where the governor is trying to fit High Point in, only because it's within our community. But I don't even have the details on that, if they're even available. So, to tell you the truth, I don't have a stance on this.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Any other comments or questions? Entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Make a motion that we send a letter of support to keep Taunton State Hospital open to our legislative delegation and the governor's office.
We have a
Second.
motion,
Second.
and we have a second. Any other comments or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
Okay, it's a split vote, 2-2. Chair votes aye. Vote passes 3-2.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Just feathering my nest for a future day. Gonna discuss the cover for the, you sit up here for a year and see what happens to you. Or 5. The Board of Selectmen have to vote or discuss and vote how they want to handle the cover for the annual town report. In past years, we've done a wide variety of things. One thing that was mentioned, I want to say 2 years ago, was having some of the artwork from the children at the various schools to be used on the town report. Last year, we went to a design of a picture of the
Soul Homestead.
Soul Homestead, that's it. Thank you. See, that's why I need the Taunton. Would the board care to discuss cover material information or covers, what they'd like to have on the cover for the town report? Yes, Mr. Frawley.
I like the idea of an art contest featuring artwork from either the high school or the middle school. Whoever wins, cover the town report. That idea wasn't mine, it was Mr. Salamini's a few years ago, and I thought it was one of his best ideas to date.
It was an excellent idea on his part, I think. Are there any other discussions, or any other comments or thoughts? Board members? Mr. School Committee Chairman, may I ask you a question, sir? Well, all right, this year. We can fix it.
After seeing what you go through, I don't know if I'd ever want to be a chair.
It's a lot of fun. Would there be enough time to have a little quick art contest? And do you think you could?
I think I'd have to defer that to Paul Brannigan, and I know that the art program has been working because they do the submittals to the Boston Globe annual art competition, and we usually do pretty well as a school system. So that might be a quick email to Paul Brannigan. Would be the best way to find out.
Okay.
So let me do that. Let me send an email to Paul Brannigan. I'll CC Jackie. Would that be fine?
Sure, that would be fine.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, yes.
Might I suggest that even if there is not time to do a contest, just having some submissions of children's artwork would be sufficient?
Okay. Sure. Sir?
Hi there, Glenn Montecurt, Marion Road. I was going to say, if you didn't have time before he jumped in with his second idea, I was going to say, if you didn't have time to maybe consider along with the tourism that we're trying to get through town, a kaleidoscope of places in Middleborough to go along with the tourism campaign that we're pushing forward. Just alternative ideas.
Okay.
Thanks.
Board members have any other ideas, suggestions?
Mr. Chair, let's see if we get submissions from the kids.
Good.
Do you need a motion?
Don't you do that. You scare people out of town.
Do you need a motion?
Pleasure of the board, yeah.
Okay.
Let's do a vote on this.
All right, so
Yeah.
moved.
The vote is for
To contact the schools and have whoever
Art
can
submissions
submit,
from the kids.
submit art from the kids, yeah.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other comments or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. In our letter writing campaign, the last item on this agenda under new business. Chief, if I can interrupt for just a second, are you demanded to get back out to where you just came from? They're all set? Okay. Okay, thank you. We have a letter, or a request to send a letter of support for relative to local aid resolution, an increase in unrestricted general government aid, and presently the governor has decided that $25 per pupil for the Chapter 70 funds will not, that's all he wants to put out for the Chapter 70, which is the school aid fund. We are sending a letter, we have a letter proposed here to send to our legislative body for increasing that amount to $100 per student, which will help to defray some of those costs. So, discussions of the board? Pleasure of the board?
Motion to approve? Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other comments or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. Being 7:30, we will have a continuation of the hearing from March 10th concerning the earth removal permit application by GAF Engineering on behalf of River Rock Realty Trust for 288 Thompson Street. It's my understanding that all of the requests that the board members had relative to buffer zones, et cetera, have all been approved or agreed upon. Everybody's in agreement now,
Yes, sir.
and there is no conflict anywhere?
No, sir. I believe there's only one outstanding question. There was one suggestion of having Bayside Agricultural be co-applicant.
Right.
Mr. Beaton will be receiving the property after we're done with it. And he felt like he was putting himself for some liability, that he asked the board just to consider him just being an owner.
Removed from there? And that's not really a problem as far as I can see. Yeah. And apparently that fits in. There's no issues with that if we vote with that. Just removing this gentleman's name off is not any kind of a problem. So that's the only.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So with the caveat of the proposed revisions and contingencies and the removal of Mr.
Beaton.
Beaton's name from this application?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
make a motion that we grant the earth removal permit for 288 Thompson Street off of Fuller Street.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other comments or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it.
Thank
Go
you
and
very
dig.
much. I just wanted to take a second to thank all of you. It's been a long road, but we got it done. Thank you.
Well, thank you for doing everything that had to be done. Thank you, gentlemen. Next on the agenda is budgets. And first item up is COA budget, and that is on page 67. Can't cancel the COA budget now. Come on. Oh.
You want the presentation first or the discussion on the budget?
Yes.
Okay. Having worked with you before, I know what that means. Do whatever we want.
Can you cover this for just a minute? Sure. Excuse me.
One second, please.
Yeah, go ahead.
Good evening, Mr. Chair.
Good evening.
Ladies and gentlemen of the board, my fellow residents of Middleborough, my name is Bob Burke, and I thank the opportunity to address you on the Council of Aging. Each month as I administer our board meeting, I am amazed at the dedication of the members of our board. There are no agendas, no politics. Everyone's concern is to provide the best services to our maturing community. We sit and we hear about the needs of the various programs, we discuss solutions, then decisions are made. At this time, I would like to thank the members of the COA Board of Directors, Arthur Turncott, Sim Bullard, Barbara Chadwick, Jeff Herbert, Annette Holmes, Andrew Madison Jr., Betty Murphy, Elizabeth Wainwright, James Waite, Richard Young, also our director, Andrea Priest, the COA management team, our employees, and all of our volunteers. Charlie had asked that we present a list of our functions and services that we provide to our community, and that has fallen upon myself. The Congregate Meal Program provides meals Monday through Friday. Meals on Wheels program provides meals also Monday through Friday, but also includes holidays. Our supportive day program is running at near capacity. Community outreach involves home visits, intake, assessment, and referral of issues, fuel assistance program, application assistance, SNAP program stands for Supplemental Nutrition Assistance, client finding, case management, phone reassurance, financial, housing, mental health, and family assistance, food pantry distribution, support group development and support, low vision, grief and loss, health education, welfare. We have legal forums, diabetics, hearing, durable medical equipment, health screening, services on taxes, administration of client logs, board reports, grant reports, and we publish a monthly newsletter 10 months a year. Under our medical responsibilities, we have the SHINE Medicare counseling, health education workshops, blood pressure screening, hearing screening, medical equipment loans, pedicare services, town nursing visits. Under our wellness program, we have strength and balance classes, a walking club, yoga exercises, dance, both square and round. Support groups, we have a caregiver support group, a bereavement support group, diabetics, and visually impaired. Under classes, we have basic computer classes, of which I wish Steve was here because knowing him, he needs them. Ceramics classes, oil painting classes, quilting classes, knitting and crochet. Under professional services, we have food stamp applications, fuel assistant applications, legal referrals, legislative hours, AARP income tax prep, and veteran services offices. In our card rooms, we provide Courage, Bridge, and Whist. We also have a lending library for books, VHS tapes, and DVDs. Activities and our volunteers. We have in excess of 130 volunteers out of the COA. So we're involved with volunteer recruitment, placement, training supervision, recognition, and food handling certification. Social enrichment activities include development, scheduling, supervision. We have monthly celebrations, as we did last Thursday for St. Patrick's Day. We show movies, ceramics, we have card games, we have the Wii electronic games, knitting and crochet groups, and quilting groups. Health, education, and wellness. We have dancing, movement, exercise, yoga, my life, my health, pedicure, cultural, educational enrichment. We have art instruction. We have day trips, educational forums, computer tutoring, intergenerational events, administration, in-house. We have a scheduling calendar. We have board reports and the newsletter. We administer the GATRA bus program and schedules. We administer the senior property tax work-off program. We have pool tables. We also serve the town as a warming shelter during the loss of power. In closing, I believe that at least 90% of the people in our community will at some time have some type of contact with the COA, whether it's for themselves, a family member, or a friend. The census figures in medical science suggest that people are living longer, so we need to prepare for this increase as our baby boomers continue to use our facilities. So I ask that while Andrea outlines our budget needs to you, that you try and imagine how you may, in time, need some of our services. I remember thanking you the night you approved my appointment to the COA board. Tonight, I thank you again for granting me the privilege to work with this board. I'd now like to introduce to you our director, Andrea Priest.
Thank you, Mr. Burke.
I'm so impressed with the services of the Council on Aging. Thanks, Bob. And our board, I thank our board as well. Thank you for letting us switch our nights. We had a board meeting last week when our first scheduled time. So I'm just going to outline the budget and the needs of the Council on Aging. There's a lot of things that we stay within our budget to fund that are above and beyond each year. We just replaced our fire alarm panel for over $6,000. Our walk-in freezer is continuously needing repair. And even though the DPW does a great job getting our snow removal, we spend money on getting ready to prepare for the day. Because if there's a snowstorm on a Sunday, our custodian goes down and clears the pathways, getting it ready, and all the access points out of the exits. So we take care of this within our budget. We also just got a recycling bin for our commitment for recycling, because we have, our kitchen really generates a lot of aluminum and cardboard, so instead of sending that to the landfill. We installed, you might have seen, the brick memorial walkway as to a betterment to the property. It's people have bought bricks in memory of their loved ones and to honor their family members, and we welcome you to get involved in that as selectmen and also to the public. We'll continue that project. As we said, we're a town warming center as requested by the fire chief. So we do these things within our budget. We don't, we kind of take pride that we're not running back to the town all the time to try to fund these things that are unexpected. We try to really run a tight ship and pay our bills. As far as personnel in the budget, we have 8 staff that have reached their top step. 4 of them are at step 8, which means they'll be at their top step next year. I think it's important for staff to have incentive. I want to encourage stable staffing that we've had. I think it speaks well to the longevity of the staffing, that they've been there, they're trained, they're experienced. We all know it takes money to bring in new people and get them up to speed. So I would like to encourage, as our budgets are able to support the steps. Only 5 work over 35 hours in the building. 12 people are at 25 hours or less. 13 people in the building earn less than $25,000 a year. So it's not the COA budget that's putting too much of a crunch on the overall budget. We also generate our own funds, as you know. Last year we generated over $318,000. Transportation brought in 171, excuse me, and that was an increase from the year before. We provided over 20,000 rides on our GATRA vans. That's not including the 1,000 miles a month that we coordinate out-of-town volunteer medical drivers. Our food program generated over 41,000, and it served over 29,000 meals. Our day program generated over $103,000, which is also an increase from 96,000. And the thing is, that's not our goal. We're not a restaurant. We're not a for-profit company. That's not our goal to generate money. We're able to because we have the amount of services that we provide. We are here to be accessible to all. We provide scholarships, provide vouchers, suggested donations. We subsidize programs with grants, and we don't charge for most of our programs right across the board. So here we are generating a good amount of money without even making a huge attempt as a business would. As you know, we depend on our trust fund, so $300,000 of our trust fund, which is where our revenue goes into, supports the budget, which is about almost close to half of what we live off of. Purchases of services, we bill our grants whenever we can to cover some overhead of building cost, heating, air conditioning, etc. So anytime I'm looking at a grant, I'm looking at putting some money in for overhead. Additional sources of help. We have 108 active volunteers that are on our rosters each day in and out of 170 possibilities. That's a lot of resources. We have a program called Can You Help, which is a chance for the community to pitch in. A package of napkins at a time almost. Some of our clients come in and they have a little package to provide for us and support. But we added it up and it was about $2,000 in goods, just that the community is able to provide. We have another cash basket at our lunch program, and that was over $1,500. Over $1,000 in state commodities that I seek each year. That's for our food program. We also thank Hannaford and Panera for their donations. In fact, Panera told us that, and they accumulated every muffin and bagel, and they said it was $29,000 worth of baked goods. That's a lot. We collaborate with St. Vincent de Paul's Pantry. Anytime they get huge volumes that they can't distribute to families in an easy way, they're excellent about calling us and collaborating. We have several sources of donations that come every year. We thank the Maxim Foundation for their cash donations, to our general donation, to our outreach account, and also Maxim pays for our newsletter. We have an Old Colony Planning Council grant that pays for day program scholarships, $3,000. We thank Oak Point Women's Group every year, provides a $2,000 donation. Middleborough Friends runs around and serves pancakes and cleans up, and every year donates the proceeds to the Council on Aging. Lions Corners Rotary has always been active. South Shore Action Council. And Senior Tax Work-Off now has 20 placements, as you know, in town, and I oversee that program. And for grants, we have the GATRA contract, which is over $200,000, that provides in-town rides and rides to Taunton, and also the downtown shuttle. We have a grant for Shine Medicare Counseling that's over $136,000. We have a formula grant from Executive Office of Elder Affairs for $39,000. So as you can see, we're doing as much as we can to keep those grants coming in, keep those reports going back in a timely way to keep us in good honor with those grants. I have a request in this year for additional requests for outreach and volunteer. Both of those positions presently are 20 hours each, and we cannot keep up with the demand. One is for activities volunteer coordinator, one is outreach coordinator. For half the amount of hours that the COA is open, half the amount of time, those positions are not in the building. And that does two things. One is that the people that are calling in are not able to get service. And the second thing is it puts a lot of burden on the staff that is there, answering the phone call, taking the message, etc. So it's kind of a double problem there. The cost of these positions is, one position is $14,600, the other is $19,400. And it's a request for 20 hours additional so that they're both 40 hours each. We have a policy called the no wrong door policy, which means when you call the COA, if we're open, you get a live person. If they had their coffee, they're even more alive, because sometimes we're answering. And it means that we don't say, okay, call this one, and we'll give you a number, you call that, and you call over there. We don't do that. We take their need, we help them, they bring them in, we follow up. We take care of whatever their request is. We don't give them additional numbers to try to find help. There's no other social service agency in town, really. Town nurses, but they're very limited with their hours. So we are the only social service agency. And the other issue is that our populations are multi-generational. We used to serve a very limited age group. Now we have the baby boomers coming, 55 and over, and we have 80 and 90-year-olds. Those four generations are very, very different in what they're looking for in a senior center. The 55, 60-year-old is not looking for the same thing as a 90-year-old. The younger baby boomers, they're looking for wellness activities, enrichment activities, meaningful activities. Our older clients are looking for assessment, referral, services, and support. And then we have caregivers and family members who are from teenagers. We have a lot of grandparents who are parenting their grandchildren who are teenagers or little children, all the way through the spectrum. Our outreach department and fuel assistance, they served 240 people last year, and average benefits $800. That means we saved residents $192,000. A 20-hour position saved residents $192,000. We have, as we talked about, the volunteers. They served over 15,000 hours last year, and it takes a lot of time to recruit them, to put them in the right place, to train them, supervise them, and to recognize them. So we talked about what those positions cover, and I think since Bob did such an excellent job, I don't need to cover too much more, but the idea is that all the lists of things that those two positions do cannot continue at this level at 20 hours. We will have to make cuts and have waiting lists. Right now there's already a waiting list for home visits, and we'll have to continue to do that. So I want to thank the staff. While I have the public forum, I want to thank the staff for all their hard work and for their dedication to the programs that we run. I am concerned about how long can we keep this pace up with the amount of demand there is and the lack of resources. How can we keep people safe, et cetera? And I thought I would give you just a scenario of our everyday, because I think real case studies make our work real. And here's the kind of things where people come in, and the reasons we can't say no, the reason we have to serve. Someone comes in after a spouse has died, and it's the first time they've left the house since then, and they need to talk. You don't send them away. A family member with early onset Alzheimer's who cannot be alone when a spouse works. You need to bring them in, you need to provide service, you need to keep them safe, you need to communicate with their family. We have someone who comes in who needs food from the food pantry. You don't send them home. You have to serve them. A person who can no longer stay home safely, who's not eating, drinking, and taking their medications, someone who's getting locked out of the house, you have to serve. 60-year-old who was laid off, this just happened the other day, and is looking to be of use. A person whose life has changed because of a diagnosis is at your front desk and needs support. A Meals on Wheels driver comes back from their route and reports there's changes that they've noticed when they're out at the home. You need to send the outreach worker out to do a home visit, to do an assessment, and time is not on your side. You have to figure out what's been going on so that that person can stay safely at home and get services. This happened as well, an elder being told they cannot stay in their home without help. Their family visited during the weekend, and that was the determination. And they were at our door on Monday morning. You can't say we don't have the staffing, we don't have the hours. You just have to serve them. So we have to look at, I talked about last year, and I want to talk just for a second, what is the value that we keep people in their home? and that they're not in a nursing home, from $5,000 to $7,000 a month, which is a burden on their families, on their own budgets, on the state ultimately, and on the country ultimately, in far range, because somebody has to pay for the care. We're doing the best we can, but there are limits. We have reached the limits. The town is, the population of seniors is 5,000 residents over 60. That's about 1/4 of the population of Middleborough, 25%. We need to serve them. I ask for your commitment to this town and to the elders. We have 1,500 residents right behind them, ages 55 to 59, who will be on our doorstep just as quickly. That doesn't include the caregivers. So I ask for your support, and I appreciate all the support you've given so far.
Thank you. Any questions of the COA board members? Andrea?
Yes.
Somebody wanted to contribute cash,
Yes.
they would send that to you personally, or
No.
Bob? No.
No. Checks made out to the Middleborough Council on Aging, or if you brought cash down, we would give you a receipt, so you would bring it down during open hours, 8 to 4:30.
Okay.
Yes, we take all donations. We have a general donation account that allows us to deposit those.
Okay. What if they, I noticed that in your newsletter you put out, there are certain items that you would like,
Right.
you willingly accept, aluminum foil.
Yeah.
What would, if somebody was to buy, a bunch of
Non-perishables,
materials,
right.
non-perishables.
That's the
what
first
would
thing
you-
is non-perishables.
Non-perishables.
Coffee, we enjoy our coffee and our decaf coffee. Paper goods, we go through paper goods. We don't have the staffing to be able to use real plates and things. We use them for lunch, but not consistently across every part of the day. So paper goods, anything that's used in the food program that is not perishable, because we do have storage.
Is it better for you to get cash for that because you can maybe buy it cheaper in bulk somewhere, or?
Cash is excellent. We like it.
But you,
Yes, I mean, it helps. I mean, a lot of people do, go to the big stores, the Costco's and the BJ's, and do buy in bulk for us, and it's wonderful. And some people give us $1 at a time. And like I said, a lot of people, when they're shopping, they pick up a few items, but it all adds up to the things that we need.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
I just want to say I'm amazed at the work you're able to do, and I'm so impressed on the return that we get on every single dollar that gets allocated to your budget. It is just amazing.
I'm amazed too. Actually, when I heard, I really was quite impressed.
Anything else? Yes.
How you doing tonight?
Very good.
Good. Are you starting to see some real returns on the energy savings? I know you guys have done a couple things over the past couple of years.
Yeah, and in fact, Mr. Stevens is really doing a paper study, because he has all this data about the weather, et cetera. But just on anecdotally, we notice a difference in the lack of draft. There always used to be this draft, and I don't know what the physics are, but it was like a vacuum in some parts of the building where it would pull the heat out. So we're noticing an improvement there. And just across the building, it just seems to be more evenly heated. Before, it used to be one room was really cold, one room was really hot, and thermostats were going crazy. So yes, and already we've seen a money savings. So I'd be happy, like, once the year goes through, to really provide some data.
Beautiful. I'd love to see that.
Okay. No other questions? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Next item is, next department up is information technology.
Good evening.
Good evening.
First, I'd like to thank Andrea and the Council of Aging. We've been one of the recipients of a volunteer for that tax program that she has, and she's been with us, the senior, for about 3 weeks, and she's helped us here with the town and also at the school department. So I just want to tell you it's a very valuable program, and I appreciate the help. Tonight, I'm here to talk about the Information Technology Department Fiscal Year 15 operating budget, request and recommendation. for a total of $243,023. The budget includes the salaries for 2 personnel. They are the technology administrator, which is Tara Broadway, who is here with us tonight, and the technology assistant, Susan Smith, who provides repair and maintenance and service for computers, printers and tablets, etc. The budget presented is level funded and includes funds for equipment maintenance, software maintenance, data processing, consultants, computer supplies for printing, ink, and consumables. The department is responsible for the technology needs of approximately 21 departments and more than 250 devices with multiple databases. I would like to take the time right now to thank you, the board members, the town manager, and the community for your support for technology. It's been very helpful, and if you have any questions, I'd be happy to take them.
Board members? Yes.
I have a question for Tara. How you doing? Can we tighten up our junk mail filter a little bit?
She did.
I did, yes.
All right.
Yeah.
'Cause I was getting the Russian bride things quite a bit.
The town manager had 8 of them, and now he doesn't have any. She just purchased a program for $1,000 to help tighten that up.
I'm not supposed to send the Russian bride things to you?
I married Steve.
She just did that, so.
Plan ahead.
All right, thank
Quite
you.
honestly, it was pretty tight before, but it's even tighter now.
It was really good for a very long time, and then some things started slipping through.
Right.
And it's
right.
one of
So
those.
she just finished working on it.
All right, beautiful. Thank you. Appreciate
I
it.
have one
Timing
question.
is everything.
On the certificates, this, whatever it is, there's a little button, a little thing that comes up. Do you want to see the certificates? I never want to see the certificates. I don't even know what they are. But on my Apple computer that I got from work, I can actually see, I can go to the webpage, and I can bring up every item, and it's no problem in our email. But if I'm using my Windows computer, I have to fight with it to get each document to show, because there's a, whatever this certificate is. Is there some
Is this a
magical
trusted
certificate
that
thing?
we have to pay for? Okay.
Well, we don't pay for it.
No, we don't, but
We
no, yeah.
generated it.
Yeah.
Usually you can just save the certificate to your device.
I've tried it, and of course, I'm technically challenged, so, paper clips are hard for me to operate, so
Maybe we should have a
I know.
suit.
Yeah, you're welcome to give us a
bring
call.
it down.
Yeah.
You can
Take a look at it.
Right.
talk to it and straighten it out?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
better when you can see it sometimes.
All right. Any other board members have anything? No?
I do, Mr. Chair, real quickly, thank you for the tourism email. Thank you so much.
No problem.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Next item on the agenda is the fire department. Fire chief?
Good evening.
Good evening. And this budget is on what? 46, page 46.
As requested, the budget was submitted as level funded as we were requested.
Right.
But our run volume is up 7% this year, on top of the 7.5% last year. Our inspections are up 15%, on top of 12.5% of last year. Our permitting is up 12%, on top of 1% of last year. And yet our staffing remains the same as 1985. So in the additional funding, you can see that I requested manpower for both firefighting staff and administrative staff. Be happy to entertain any questions if you have any.
Well, Chief, I think there's been a lot of discussion about giving you, well, first of all, Captain Burke,
Yes, I would like to
your
mention.
inspector, has retired.
Captain Burke will retire at the end of this month, and she'll be missed very much so. She put in a lot of time. She did a great job while she's been here, and I'm currently refilling that position with Captain Timothy Reed. So it should be a great loss to the department. And for the town, the annual report, I wasn't going to get up for the cover, but I respectfully request that firefighter David Breyer, who passed this past year, be recognized in that annual report. He's a great loss to this fire department in this town.
Okay, we will, board members wish to make any motions relative to that? Yes.
Make a motion that we put a
Dedicate.
memorial to firefighter David
Breyer?
Burke.
Second.
Breyer.
We have a motion and a second. Any comments or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? You guys have it.
I have requested through the town manager's office that it be dedicated to David Breyer. I don't know if that,
Will.
thank you very much.
Any other questions of the chief? There's going to be ongoing discussions about your budget, so it's
Sure.
not ending here.
Chair?
Yes?
You say we're at 1985 standards?
Staffing.
Or levels?
Staffing.
Staffing level?
Yes.
And that's a total of how many?
28 firefighters, 1 chief, and 1 code enforcement officer. Code enforcement / fire prevention officer. No deputy. And no staffing to staff the outlying stations on a regular basis.
If we could, what would
8
fulfill your needs?
8 firefighters and 1 administrative staff. Whether it be a captain, lieutenant, or a deputy chief, whatever you want to call it. And that's part of the additional request that I submitted. We were fortunate enough over the past couple of months to be able to open the North Station on several occasions due to we have an overlap of bringing in a new firefighter that's waiting to be trained and also waiting till Captain Burke retired. So we had an overlap. We had 1 shift with 1 extra firefighter, and that afforded us the opportunity to open North Station several times with 2 firefighters in there. And lo and behold, it made a huge difference. We had several calls in the north sector of the town that really made a huge difference having that station open. I do have the call volume per district if you wanted to know that.
Yeah, that would be good.
Obviously, the center, which is District 4, center and west, 58.19% of the calls generated there. District 1 north is 18.51%. East Middleborough District 2 is 9.49%. South is 12.28%. And mutual aid is 1.56% of run volume.
So as people in the east are far more conscious of fire safety than the rest of the townies. Okay.
And,
Just like to have that and put that on the press.
EMS calls have pretty much stayed the same. It's actually dropped by 20 calls, which is insignificant in percentages, but relatively the same number. But our fire volume and our rescue volume is up 7% this year, 7.5% last year. Our permitting and our inspections have skyrocketed, which is a good sign in some ways that the economy and the buildings starting to rise.
Any other
Not
questions?
good for us, we don't have the manpower, but it's good for the economy and good for Middleborough.
Any other questions of the chief?
I did most, when I was a kid, I was pretty much raised on Cape Cod. Most of the towns I lived in had a deputy chief.
Yes.
Some of them were small in this town. So just expand for the folks out there listening and myself, this obviously has a value to you.
Absolutely.
In the entire department in town. Just expand on that a little bit. So you don't have one today, things come up, you wish you had one. I mean, it's preventing you from doing certain things you otherwise would like to be doing. Just go in a little bit of detail on that.
It's preventing, obviously, a second in command when I'm not around, which most of the time I'm always around, but if I have to leave town or I'm home, deputy chief would be second in command. The deputy chief would also be responsible for the training programs that we currently cannot expand upon, and also would be assistant in the fire prevention and the code enforcement. Usually the deputy chief would handle most of the commercial grade stuff, while the fire prevention and code enforcement officer would handle most of the residential situations, and that's just to name a few. But administration-wise, would be huge to me to help me out with the grants and the reimbursements that we go through FEMA every year, and especially grant writing and assisting me with putting those things together. As most of you know, I get a lot of grants. I get a lot of FEMA reimbursement for the town, and it would just enhance that as well to help me with all of that administrative stuff.
So if we get you a deputy chief, you'll get more grants.
I will try.
Sold.
I will try for more grants. I currently have a grant pending right now for $660,000 to fix our communications issues.
No, I hear you. So, I mean, if you're not directly able to cover down on some of these things, then you have to pull captains and whatnot to filter in where they can.
Currently, right now, all the captains and lieutenants all have jobs above and beyond their first-line supervisor job to assist me with those things. But obviously, the continuity of operations, because they all are on different shifts, it makes it very difficult to keep the continuity.
Are you prepared in the near future to present an actual plan for a deputy chief hire? I mean, like I say, I know it's been kind of floating around, but at some point, are you prepared to come before to make it, like I say, to make it official? I mean, it's like I say, I'd love to hear it.
I make it every year. I make the official request every year.
Well, yeah, I know, but we kind of just floated around. I mean, it seems like it's just getting worse and worse for you.
It is. It is getting worse and worse.
All right. Well,
I'd be more than happy to present it to you.
yeah, love to see it. Like I say, something right up there. You know, let's do it. You know, instead of just half-heartedly.
We really need the
moving around.
firefighters if we want those stations open as well.
Okay. Great. Well, I appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Chief. Any other questions of the Chief?
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Oh. I wanted to echo what Mr. Quell was saying. I know you bring in a lot of grant money, and I think it's money really well spent, a good return on the money to try and fund that deputy position, to be able to free you up for more of that or free up that person for more of it. It makes a lot of sense to me. And if it's possible, I'd like to try and find a way to get that.
I appreciate that.
I just want to say thanks. I think you do a fantastic job, and the money you bring back into the town through your grant writing, your successful grant writing is fantastic. Keep up the good work. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Well, I appreciate your organizational skills, because you balance, you've got a lot of balls in the air at one time, and you keep them all up there. I don't know how you do it.
I don't either.
But it's...
I'm going to be sitting next to
Yeah,
Mr.
you're going to have
that
yeah, I'll be in
facility you
room
spoke
1,
of
you'll be
earlier.
in room 2, and the rest of them will be on 3, 4, 5, and 6.
Yes, sir.
But that's, you've done a terrific job over there.
Thank you.
And there's a lot that people have no idea that you've done, that from the mechanics of the operations, making things work better, smarter.
Trying.
You've done a great job over there, Chief.
Thank you.
And you've been a very, very, it was a great hit having you come to this town.
I appreciate
And,
that.
keep up the good work.
Thank you.
And we'll do what we can.
That's all I ask. I'm doing the best I can.
You are.
Well,
You're doing an excellent job.
Thank you.
And it's our job to support you. And we
I
will.
hope you do.
You know, we got to find a way. We have to do that.
Appreciate it.
Okay. Any other questions of the chief? Go and fight fires. Next item on the agenda is sealer and weights and measures. Page 55. Mr. Norvish, good evening.
Good evening, everybody. You ready?
Ready.
All right. Back in November, I had to see the town manager because the budget has been so small the last few years that I have not been able to have the supplies to do the job.
Right.
So back in November, he said, you order the supplies, I'll find the money, and then we'll try to straighten this out when the budget comes. So here we are, budget time. So basically, the only difference in the budget is to increase for gasoline, mileage, and supplies. And I think that the town manager printed out a sheet with an increase of $972, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
As a matter of fact, right now, I have places that I've inspected, but I don't even have the seals to put on the scales, you know? So that's how thin the budget excuse me, has been over the last few years. And when I sat down and talked to Charlie, he wasn't, he was a little surprised to find out that I also bring in fees. And the fees that I've been bringing in over the last 5 years have been between $2,000 and $3,000 beyond the budget. And that, most fees go back to the general fund, and here I am.
All right, so you're looking for the $972 for, just for your equipment to buy seals and gas to get to your locations.
And years ago, the budget for supplies was around $600. And probably should not have been cut, but times are tough, so.
Right, okay. Then I'd like to tell you we're going to do that tonight, but you know the drill. We have to go through everything and balance it all out. So, any questions of the Mr. Novish? No questions?
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Well, being it's almost 8:30, Building Department.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman.
Good
members
evening.
of the board. I'm Bob Whaler, the Middleborough Building Commissioner. We have
Page
budget
53.
Number 241. I don't know what page it's
Page
on.
53.
Okay. It's level funded from last year.
Okay, the only increases would be step increases.
Step increases, that's it.
Okay.
And longevity went up $75.
Okay. What's going on in the land of inspections?
Excuse me?
What's going on in the land of inspections?
Land of inspections, we're going to be very busy come spring, if spring ever should arrive. We've got probably $20 million in commercial work that is yet to get started. That's already been through the planning stages, and they're just waiting to apply for their building permits.
Plus, could be more.
Yeah,
Depending
but that,
on-
I've never seen, since I've been here, I've never seen that much work waiting to get started, so.
So it's just waiting on this lovely weather?
Yep.
Okay. I would love to entertain a motion to get rid of this cold, but I don't know if we can do anything about that. But so you think April should bring some significant work into your, into your department?
Actually, we have one right now, a $4 million project, Middleborough Arms. They're just waiting to pass papers. They're going to completely
Good.
renovate every apartment.
Right.
They're inside out.
Okay.
They're spending $4 million down there, so.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Good. Any questions of the building inspector? None? Done.
Okay, have a good night.
Thank you. Have a good night. Police Department. Police Chief. Come on down.
Glad you're not using that this year. Last year I came without my TV glasses and I had to win.
Well, we did that just for you, Chief.
I appreciate it. Our level fund is pretty much the same as last year. The additional requests I put in for come up to $407,000.
What's that for, Chief?
The biggest one was the dispatches. If we did the dispatches, it would be civilians 24/7. We can get, if we entertain doing that, I can get them all trained. There's a 5-week academy now in Taunton that they could attend, and the state will pick up the tab for the training. as well as his salaries while in the academy. And then if we did in fact put enough dispatchers on, it would be probably 5, I figured 5 full-time, 2 part-time, cover 24/7. If we did that, we could immediately get a 20% increase in boots on the road, which would free up our police officers. And I think that if we had people doing the dispatch duties on a regular basis, it would be more efficient and effective because that's what we're doing.
Right.
Instead of, you know, it could be 1 out of 36 guys right now just doing dispatch. So it's not, they do a good job for what they have, but I think it'd be a lot more consistent.
Right.
So that's why I put that in. Those are the figures for that. The overtime has run over for years and years, and that's based on contractual things that the officers have got, but they were never funded.
Right.
So that runs over. I put in for that every year. Quick time, we get more and more motions. Everything we do now, we want motions, we want 911 takes. So that goes up. As you probably know, we've been really busy this year with a lot of serious stuff, fires, murders, all this, the guns we've got, the drugs. I'd like to put another detective up there. I just swapped Lieutenant Perkins out. He's back on the road, but I think he's mentored them enough now. And the new officer I put up there to take his spot, Officer Cunningham, he's done a fabulous job so far, but I think there's enough experience up there right now where they can get by with, just because of what we're trying to do with what we have, they can get by with Perkins being on the road, but still being in charge of that protection.
So he's doing dual duty, he's
Yeah.
doing the shift work, and he's still overseeing the detectives?
Yes, but he works the evening shift, so it works good. But I really would like to get another guy up there. And between all the stuff we see in the paper, that's about 5% of what's going on. There's all kinds of other things going on that it's just constant drain. And schools and training, we don't get as much professional development as we should. And also, we should be shooting twice a year, we're only shooting once a year, and that costs a lot of money to do that. So those are pretty much the basic additional costs that I put in.
Now, you're going to have significant turnover this year, aren't you?
This year, I don't anticipate too much. We're putting on the 4 officers that the board approved back in late January. They start the 31st of this month. They won't hit the road till September.
Right.
And we figure there'll be about 2 months before they run them off.
Have they've been through the academy, or are they?
No, they start March 31st.
They start March 31st?
They graduate in August.
Okay. So then they're really over a year away from being really totally functional.
Yeah, and even after they go on their own, it takes a good year for most of them to really get comfortable up and running. I don't anticipate too much turnover this year. I think a couple people will go, but we had three big salaries go last year, and probably get a couple this year. And I think that would probably be it.
Questions of the board? Yes.
How you doing, Chief?
Good.
Good. If we got dispatches, would that put a dent in the overtime?
No.
Really wish you said yes to that.
You know, the overtime is caused by contractual obligations that I have to meet. And the dispatchers will give us about a 20% increase in the amount of officers we got on the road, because I'll pay them one shift. But no, I don't think it would affect the overtime.
All right, just because I don't know much about dispatches or how you do your schedule and how all that works, if we couldn't get you 24/7 dispatch coverage, but we could get you a couple shifts covered, is that a step in the right direction, or is this kind of an all or nothing type of thing?
In my opinion, and I think it either go all in one.
All right.
You know, if you're gonna do it, then do it right. Get them all trained up, and so they just run the whole thing. It's a whole separate deal going on. I think you'd be much better off just to either do it or you don't.
All right.
I mean, it's not gonna hurt to have one too, but then you're still gonna have, you know, the officers are still gonna have to all be trained. Now it's mandatory 2 days a year that each officer has to be trained to keep up the 911 certification. I still do it because, not that I sit there and answer the phone, but if we're busy during the day and I'm going out front and the phones are ringing off the hook because there's only one person here, then yeah, I want to be able to answer the 911 phone. So it doesn't cost anything for me to go to training. I still do it just because if I didn't legally, I couldn't walk out front at 10 o'clock in the morning when there's a whole bunch of stuff going on and help them out against the phone, which I do on occasion now.
All right.
Any other board members have any questions? Okay, Chief, thank you. Thank you very much. Have a good weekend.
Happy Day.
Happy St. Patrick's Day to you, Chief. Next item on the... That's it? You don't want to hear my sparkly voice anymore? Next item on the agenda is the health agent. Jean, come on up. Back to earth, Jean. Good evening.
Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Happy St. Patrick's Day. So your budget, level funded, except for step increases. And are you asking for anything in particular?
Not in what I proposed.
Okay, so you're proposing basically just what you did last year,
That's correct.
with no increases, okay, other than mandatory. How is the inspections going? How is the inspections going? How are the inspections going?
We've had, as you know, with the animal control, we've had some changes, and we're trying to accommodate those changes in the trainings. We've had 2 people, you know, we've gone through, one's already gotten their certification last year, the other one's getting their certification this year. We're doing cross-training with the animal inspector and animal control duties so that everybody knows that I still haven't brought a miracle of seeing that aspect because she's been involved in training them all along since the brought them on. So I think that's going pretty well. I'm pretty pleased with the people that we've got in now, and I think we will, that's the big part is, although the funds aren't changing, the hours and the to accommodate for them will. You know, I have to increase the hours as she gets her certifications, so that we have the coverage, because that is one of the problems we're running into, not enough hours in the animal control, and we're getting burnout with call-outs and stuff. So I'm trying to accommodate for that. You know, we've had a couple of high-profile cases that we've worked with the police department this past year. So that was pretty, a little bit, you know, like I said, getting them to speed and getting the trainings and certifications out of the way. As far as the health department, again, housing is becoming, it is a top drain. A lot of housing assumptions. And on top of that, being for a lot of hours spent in court, a lot of legal process to go through. So it just takes time.
What about
First after picking up,
stings for the cigarettes, the underage smoking?
I haven't been contacted by the Cape Cod group. I'm waiting
springtime. It's usually when kids start getting out of school and things become a little more active. It usually comes in springtime, late spring.
All right. Board members, got any questions? Comments?
And I too get grants.
You do?
All the time.
How many did you get?
I get quite a few,
Do you?
but mostly it's for equipment. It's not
Yeah.
money's coming in, but
Right.
we get equipment. We get the generators. We've got solar, battery, and gas generators coming in.
Do you run those generators periodically?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
And we also, I'm hoping within the next month or so to have the resource book available for the board so that you see all the emergency equipment and it can share, the fire department will have access to it.
Right.
Actually, at the moment, a lot of this stuff is on the fire department.
Right.
But I'll have a full resource list for you.
Okay.
in 2 months' time.
All right.
Any questions on anything else yet?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Since you brought it up, Gene, thanks for doing all you do with the grants. But the animal shelter, you just said there was a new roof a couple of years ago, you got a new boiler, and you're doing some more work there. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
We had Bristol
Plymouth.
BP come over and they did all the new ceilings and we have new lighting. And just this month, we had the front rusted, rotten metal door replaced at cost, so no labor, as soon as they go. So we're really thrilled about that. And it's a lot better condition than it was a couple years ago.
Beautiful. We're not boarding
No.
animals over in Lakeville
That
anymore?
was temporary, and that was why we were tearing down the ceilings, and we had no heat or anything in there, so that was a very temporary measure, and fortunately, didn't incur too much.
Beautiful. Thank you very much.
There are people out there, I'm sure, that care a lot about the animals and want to make sure they're taken care of. If they wanted to make a contribution to
Yes.
the,
We have an animal control fund, and actually what we're hoping this summer to kick off a campaign to add a new section of the shelter on and upgrade our shelter configuration altogether. And so we're going to try to do a building fund.
do you just do dogs in the shelter, or you do cats also?
We have cats, we have pigs, we have all pigs that we run loose. One of the areas, we recently got another grant approval, and it's for animal emergency response equipment, in that we are getting portable pens and whatnot, tapes for large animal rescue, and using, we'll be utilizing the existing trailer to store.
Speaking of large animal rescue, is part of the training that your folks go through, getting or training in the ability of rescuing like a horse that gets stuck in mud or whatever?
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, we're in the southeast, we're about the only town that has gotten a grant, and we bought the large animal rescue glide. So it's this big, large sled. We've conducted training for the entire southeast Mass previously, and we have another one coming up this spring. It's open to fire department personnel, animal control officers, and zoos. And we're trying to get a coordinate of people trained with that, so if need be, we can access the event.
Right.
And that was all about new grants as well.
Okay. You advertise this training course where?
Yes, with first responders, yes.
Okay. All right. Good.
Yep, we've already got it scheduled. The training itself is being paid for out of grant lines that I got.
Good. Love hearing that term, grant money.
Couple more questions. I know it doesn't seem like it to most people, but spring is right around the corner. And with that, we're going to get mosquitoes. So Is there something we can do to try to head off the, the quarantine that seems to fall over the town every year during the summer, that we can't go out after dark or before sunrise?
As far as limiting or minimizing the risk in the community, I work very closely with Plymouth County Mosquito Control. They're great group of people. They've been very receptive and very good in Middleborough in the past. And they do come out on the roadside early in the season. And that's one of the areas that some people get confused about when they talk about they're doing aerial larviciding. It's not the aerial spraying that everybody thinks comes in the summer. This is a larvicide application that reduces the numbers of hatched mosquitoes. At this point, we don't know how bad the mosquito season is going to be because we haven't had that wet season and rains and all to engage. But they're very good at working with me early in the season, and they start their application very early for me, which is why I think when we were in the beginning in the epicenter and having the worst case scenarios as far as the numbers of mosquitoes, we are still in that category of risk analysis, but our numbers have dropped in comparison to some of the surrounding towns because they have been so proactive and working so well with us. And they come out and they do the parks, the schools, and everything anytime I ask.
And is, the different athletic fields throughout town for the different youth leagues and all that stuff? I'm asking this because I just got suckered into being a soccer coach.
Good for you.
Yeah. The next 14 years. But, like those associations can contact Plymouth County Mosquito Control and get their fields sprayed. Or do they
I
contact
automatically
you?
have them on the spray schedules.
All right. Now, is there,
And the big thing is working it, around when there's not going to be functions and stuff going on.
it seems to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems to me that by the time the mosquitoes get really bad and we start getting the Triple E and the West Nile, it's too late to ask the state to spray.
Aerial spray?
Aerial spray?
Aerial spray, there's critical analysis that goes into that mass aerial spraying. And a lot of it comes down to financials and the effectiveness. And one of the problems that we ran into last year is that by the time the numbers of mosquitoes became critical, the conditions for spraying were not available. It was too cold in the morning, it was too wet sometimes. The conditions for aerial spraying have to be ideal as well. And also, what's a long-term benefit? If we were already getting into the cold season, it wasn't going to give you the necessary coverage.
Is there a way we can be a little more proactive or preemptive with that type of request for the state? Because I remember it very well from last summer. Everybody wanted to spray, but it would have been useless to do that. But I'm not sure, but if we had made those requests earlier,
It's not a matter of making requests for the aerial spraying. We get ground spraying regularly. The aerial spraying becomes a critical decision-making process on the state level by the governor based upon the effectiveness and the costs. And we can beg all we want, and it's not going to change that. It's science-based and it's based upon certain factors. If they've had a certain number of mosquitoes and it's impacted people and mammals, if it's a certain percentage of mosquitoes are hot in an area, they might do a designated area. So they have their analysis already in place. So if you meet those benchmarks, then they will spray. There's nothing to do if we beg or not. Rainham begged, I begged, doesn't do it. They know when they will spray. If it hits this threshold, they will spray.
All right, thank you.
Even though I keep trying, but.
I'm more than happy to help you in any way, shape, or form I can.
And anytime they change it, because they changed some of the parameters in the last couple of years. So they did change some of the parameters to be a little more realistic, which is why now they came through and they did spray one area and this swath. So now they're a little more focused. Okay, so we don't have to do the entire state. This area is critical. Let's go ahead and try that. And it cuts down on their cost and addresses a critical area. So they will look at that. So that's that is a positive change that's occurred in the last couple of years.
All right, thank you.
But history doesn't play into that. It's based on real-time.
Yes.
Doesn't mean, because
Real-time
we've
data.
had West Nile virus in the past 10 years, that's irrelevant. It's what's out there today, what they catch today, what they analyze today.
Correct. And it's the triple E that's the most critical for us, because that's the one that has the potential for death.
Right. Okay, any other questions? And you covered the animal control officer also? That's all set. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a good night. Veterans Agent. This is page 75?
Good evening. Whoa. First time I've had a talk in a few hours. Good evening.
Good evening.
I've been on board, this is my 12th year. And I don't know if on your page there in the booklet it shows under additional funding requested a clerk position of $30,000 and change. Does it?
Yes.
Okay. Did you as a Board of Selectmen get a chance to see the justification?
Yes.
For that? Okay. And realize that when I started over 11 years ago, had 5 cases on Chapter 115, which is a state mandated program that puts me in position, and a budget of $25,000. Now I have over 65 cases and a budget over $500,000 for the same program. On the other side of the business is the VA, disability and pensions and everything else that goes along on the federal side. And that, there's over 100 active cases coming out of my office currently. And the community benefits in the tune of over $7 million of monies coming in from the disabilities work that I've done over the years. So I think overall, you know, with the monies coming into the community and the town getting 75% of the Chapter 115 monies back from the state, and I've been a good steward of the money that I spend and make sure that we get as close to our 75% as possible. I would imagine over the 11 years we've probably not dropped below 74%. And I'm actually making money for this town somehow. But anyway, I'm getting tired, and I can buy back 4 years of military time. That puts me almost 16 years into the position. I don't know how much longer I'm going to do this. I don't think there's another person quite as dedicated in the state as a veterans agent that gets up and 7 days a week is working the job to make sure that the books balance, to make sure the veterans are taken care of, to get out into the community and make sure that the veterans that need to be serviced are serviced as best as possible. But there's a lot more work that needs to be done, and the junior clerk position would definitely be an asset to make this happen. And I need $25,000 more in my medical and cash aid for the Chapter 115 benefits for this next year. You appropriated $500,000 this year, and I'm going to be in front of the town, special town meeting, asking for a little bit of a bump up to make sure we have the books balanced at the end of the year. So the support from you guys to get me a clerk would be greatly appreciated. And I know Charlie and I talked about it, and I'm getting tired.
Well, okay, we will look at, again, we've got all kinds of requests out there.
But mine's the important one.
Yours is the most important right now, until he gets up with the school. And
No.
He only needs $600,000 though, that's
Piece of cake, $30,000, you can find that in your back pocket?
Well, probably could, yeah.
Maybe not you.
If it was in my back pocket, I'd be home watching it. All right, any questions of the Veterans Agent? How many people do you have now on, what is it, Chapter?
About 65.
65.
And it's an amazing blend of folks. I mean, I have a goodly number of seniors, retired people, and or retired veterans and their widows, or husband and wives, and a good blend of young people that are employable and just are having difficulty finding work at this point. And most of those stay on the benefits for a short period of time, a month or two, some of them longer periods of time, and some of them are married, and some of them that are married are costing me a lot of money because they also have kids. And I'm not complaining. It's, you know, the nature of the work. And in 2005, I don't know if this board's aware of that, in 2005, there was a change in the definition of veteran in the state of Massachusetts. And prior to 2005, under Chapter 115, the only veterans that were being serviced were wartime veterans, people that were in service during a wartime period. In 2005, my caseload started to go ballistic to the point where it is now because of the fact that they opened it up to all veterans that served more than 180 days and had a better than dishonorable discharge and that kind of thing. And so that compounded by the fact that we have the war going on, had the war going on in Iraq and have a war winding down in Afghanistan, have put quite a burden on me and the department as a whole.
To say nothing about the veteran.
Oh yeah. Well, they're the reason why I'm working. And I don't know if you folks realize it, that I'm the first guy that they've allowed to do the job full time. My predecessor was on the books full time, was pulled into the health department, and it was very seldom that the office was actually open. Prior to him, there was George Maurer, I think, and he worked part-time being the veterans agent and had a clerk in the office, and he was cutting hair up the street most of the time. And so I think I've more than adequately filled the role and serviced the veterans in the best possible way that I can with the resources that I have.
Okay. Other questions? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Paul. Selectmen? We should be number one.
Number 3.
We're asking for no money this year, so, just a step increase this year, I believe. Actually, it's not a step increase because that'll get all kinds of people hysterical when they say that, so. Small. That's a determination made at a later date. Okay, town manager's budget?
Cut it.
Everybody should. And his budget is a very small increase, contractual. And actually, let's put these two off till Charlie comes back next week. The town manager and the administrative office building. We'll do those next week, okay? Will you put that on the schedule for next week, Jackie? Thank you. Next item on the agenda is correspondence. Mr. Knowlton?
Yes. Item number 1, I just want to thank Glenn for work with the train. You want to speak to that for just a second?
Still there.
Yes, it is. Glenn Montepert, Vice Chair of Middleborough G&E. The train is still there, and it's supposed to be there. The train trash cars that are the culprit are moved elsewhere onto a new track that actually, it's an old track. It was out of service. They put it back in service, and the trash cars are over on that track, away from the G&E and away from the Center Street Bridge. And I really have very little to do with it except nagging a lot of people. Fire Chief Benjamino came. He presented data to CSX train people. Selectman Dalpy came and spoke on behalf of the people, and the town manager came and drove. It was good. It showed solidarity in the team, in the town. CSX did a great job. They figured it out. They solutioned it. They were very easy to work with. Mass DOT was great in coordinating everything and getting CSX and Middleborough to the same table so we can discuss it. It was a success story all around, if I can speak. Success. There we go.
Love it.
It's getting late.
Oh, it's getting late.
Anything else?
Well, thank you so much for that. Appreciate it.
Yep, that's what I'm here for.
I'd also like to talk to number 2, the Standard & Poor's rating increase that the town just received. I think it speaks volumes to our Finance Committee and our town manager with the good work they've been doing over the past few years, that we were able to increase a step on that. Good for the town, good for our finances, good job all around. That's all I'd like to say.
Okay, thank you. Well,
Well, what the heck, let's go to number 5. So there it is. That's a bill. It's $5,337,506. Now, I've brought this up before. It's difficult for me to remember the last time that this group met. This body of government appointed me to this board, and actually I think there was a couple of us at this last meeting, and I was a little upset that the major focus of this meeting was getting out as quickly as possible so everybody could get home to watch the Patriots game, like nobody has DVRs. But that basically means that barely twice in the last year we've met to discuss the spending of $5.3 million of our money. I know I'm a short timer on this board, so I'll just, as part of my parting here, I'd really encourage the sitting members of this board who will be moving on to take a hard look at this. Our retirees are very important to us, and they deserve their retirement to be in capable hands. And it just seemed like when I would go into these meetings, the damage was done. It had already progressed so far forward that you were just trying to standing up and saying words that just fell on deaf ears. It didn't seem like the most committed group to me. I was actually in a couple of meetings where you'd have to ask people to get off their cell phones because they were disrupting the meeting. These are actually other selectmen that are on the board that vote on these issues. So, like I said, this is sort of in your lap now as I'm stepping off this board, but I would encourage you to continuously listen to and work with our town manager for obvious reasons, but most notably because he has worked with both types of retirement systems. He's worked in the county and he's worked with a town-run retirement system. And the 3 years that I've been with this board, I've seen a lot of problems in the county-run system. Yet I'm patiently waiting for somebody to bring the negatives of the town-run system before me. I'll be happy to listen to them. Haven't seen them yet. So we just went through budgets. You have a number of department heads, the clerk, conservation agent that are ready to, cry uncle for more staffing. Veteran agent would like somebody. Chief needs a deputy chief, and there's a lot of needs around here for more money. So I just encourage you to look at this county-run system that we're on right here and ask yourself, is it the best system for us to be on? That's all I'll say. Great. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
thank you.
Just along with what Mr. Crowe was just saying, I've said it before, I'll say it again. I said, why don't we ask the Plymouth County Commissioners to come on in and have a talk with us about everything that they're doing. I've spoken with them, a number of them, a number of different times, and I'm more than happy to come in. They're just waiting for an invite.
Okay, we can do that. Let's get through all this, and then we'll schedule something for probably the next, after April.
Yep. Just to add a little bit to what Mr. Knowlton brought up about the ratings, it couldn't have happened at a better time. And with the amount of things that we have in our near future, I hope our rating continues to go up, because we're literally saving millions of dollars when our rating goes up with the projects that we have in our very near future. So thank you very much to everybody. So a lot of it does go to Charlie, and a lot of it does go to the finance committee, and the ability for the boards to work together.
And there are some, the grading area how they graded the town. A lot of it, the financial, real nuts and bolts stuff that I think I want to sit down with Charlie and see what we can do about maybe getting even a better rating, even though we are going to be borrowing money, probably, in the near future. Well, obviously for the wastewater treatment plant. That's actually almost separate from the town. They don't really count that too much. So that helps us in some ways, because that's kind of a self-funded thing. But I'd like to see what we can do about maybe increasing that more. There may be nothing we can do until more business comes to town, more higher level occupations come to town. But we'll see what we can do. I think that's important. I want to thank Xfinity for dropping 3 channels, but not the rate. I think that's very nice of them.
I'm surprised at that. With the amount of the Hispanic communities growing in southeastern Mass, they're dropping Hispanic channels. Doesn't make any sense to me. I don't watch them.
Anybody else have anything under correspondence? Okay. Town manager's report will postpone until next week when we have town manager. And, having nothing else to say,
Move to adjourn.
Second.
And we have a second. Any other comments or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, that's it. Thank you very much.
What do you want to do?